Here's my portable composting chicken coop. It's very similar to my portable chicken coop composter. The difference is that this has a 55-gallon trash can permanently located under it. It's inverted, it's upside down, and it's a cycling composter under there. You take the finished compost out of the bottom and you add more compostable material on the top. You put kitchen scraps and yard waste, garden scraps, whatever the chickens can eat in the top, and it just cycles down through the bottom. So there's no trash cans to pull out of there, big heavy job like there is on the portable chicken coop composter. The instructions for building this are just about the same. This video is going to have all the things you need to do that are different. Materials are very similar. Obviously, you only need one 55-gallon trash can instead of the 3 or 4 32-gallon trash cans. You're also going to need the stainless steel colander that I got on eBay. I'll put a link for that in the description. You're going to need 2 1/4-inch by 1.5-inch long hex bolts. You're going to need 4 big fender washers. 2 of them should be 2-inch in diameter. They can all be 2-inch in diameter if you want. 2 1/4-inch wing nuts, not these 1/4-inch hex nuts. 4 of these concrete pavers. They're 12 inches by 12 inches. They cost about $1 a piece. You're going to need about 6 feet of 2x8 pressure treated lumber. You can see it there. There's 4 pieces of that. So very similar to the chicken coop composter. I'm going to give the instructions here, but you're going to have to combine them at the appropriate points where there's something that's different. You're going to have to take the instructions I'm about to give and use them instead of the other instructions. So here's the old chicken coop composter. It's broken in half. This is a Rubbermaid Brute. They can be expensive. This one I found on a restaurant supply. It was on the other side of the United States from where I am. They sold it cheap. They shipped it cheap. So, I did better going online than I could have locally. And then the lid was sold separately. I got that on Amazon. So the first thing I'm going to do is modify this base. I'm going to take off that round piece of hardy backer board and modify that. Do a few other modifications to the base. Do a little work on the trash can and put it back together. I found a plate that's about the same diameter as this circular raised area in the lid. You can use this for a template. I need to cut a hole in the center of this hardy backer board. It's big enough for that plastic raised area. It's okay if the hole's a little big, but it can't be too small. Now I'm going to fasten this back on here. Next thing I've got to do is cut 4 17-inch 2x8s to give this a little more support around the edges. Next thing I've got to do is cut a curve in these 2x8s. It's going to support the edge of this trash can lid. So what I've done is I've got the 32-gallon trash can lid, and I see that it's just about the same diameter as these protrusions here. So I'm going to use this for a template. Here's a piece of pressure treated. You can probably get away with just regular non-pressure treated, but pressure treated is better. I'm going to put this on here. Use this to mark. I'm going to go a little bit on the outside of it, and now I'll cut it out. You really don't want to be breathing pressure treated sawdust. It's really bad for you, so get a good dust mask. Also use the dust mask for cutting the hardybacker board. I ended up taking these over to a workbench to cut them. It's actually a pretty tough job. That's why you want at least a medium quality jigsaw. Not a fun job. But anyway, I got them all four cut out. I've put them in under the trash can lid, which is centered in here. I've marked all of them halfway through. I'm going to drill them out. These deck screws, 3-inch deck screws, with a drill that's bigger than the shaft of the deck screw. I'm going to drill 2 holes. I'm going to screw them down into these PVC pipes. I've marked them all equidistant in from these fittings here. I'm going to pre-drill for these screws. You don't want to tighten those screws up too tight. Here's what you got when it's all done. It doesn't have to be exact. So the trash can lid is supported around the perimeter and supported in the middle. What I've done now is extend these side posts. If you're building this from scratch, I mean, obviously just cut it as one piece, but I'm modifying an older design. So I made these couplers out of an old T. I didn't have enough couplers, so that's why that looks a little funny. But at any rate, these have to be at the correct height so that when you put the top on it, and it's all assembled, the piece of hardybacker board is 1 inch over this surface right here rather. That way, over time, the hardybacker board will settle, it will sag, and it will create a slight drainage slope into the compost chamber. So my suggestion would be, make your measurements, cut these a couple of inches long, then put the top on, which I'm going to do in a minute, and see how much you need to take off. Then, remove the top and cut them down to the right length. Trying to add and subtract it all up, measuring inside the fittings, all the different things. I think it's just a formula for getting it wrong. So it's better just to put it together, measure what you need to take off, some extra long legs, and do it that way. So I'm going to put this last leg extender on over here. I put the top on and measured the distance between the bottom of the hardybacker board and the top of the trash can, and I need to take about 3/4 of an inch off. So I'll disassemble it, cut the tops off of the PVC, and everything will fit exactly right. I took the top off and cut these 4 down. So now I'm going to have about about an inch of space here between the trash can and the hardybacker board. The next thing I need to do is cut the bottom of this trash can out to the same or slightly larger diameter as the hole in the top of the coop in the hardybacker board. That works out to about 19 inches, which is conveniently the radius right along this molded plastic lip here. So I'm going to cut it out and use that as a guide. Just cut right inside of that and leave it for strength. Next thing I need to do is cut a hole for this stainless steel sieve that I got on eBay. It's going to be the clean out hole in the compost chamber. So I need to cut a hole in the trash can. It's a slightly smaller diameter than this, so it won't go all the way in. So I dug around the kitchen and I found something. It's just about the right diameter. I'm going to use it for a template. And, you know, maybe even with the bottom of this, I don't think it's super critical. This is the lid, even across here. I'm going to center it on the logo here. Looks like my hole needs to be a little bigger. I'm just going to take another 1/4 of an inch off all the way around. Well, it's not perfect, but it's close enough. This sieve is going to be held in here with these fender washers. They're exceptionally large even for fender washers. I happen to have these. It could be anything really. It could be a little block of plywood with a hole drilled in it, but I have these, so I'm going to use them. They're about 2 inches in diameter. I've got these 1/4 inch bolts, so I'm going to hold this about where it's going to need to go and drill my hole. Put some fender washers on the inside of these bolts. What I need is some 1/4 inch wing nuts. I don't have any. I'll have to run into town and get some, but I'll just put these regular nuts on for now. Replace them with wing nuts later. So there's the clean out. The next thing I need to do is fasten this lid to the trash can permanently. I think I'll line these handles. Just going to shoot some of these inch tapping screws in. Won't take that many, maybe 6 of them all together, I would guess. So now all I have to do is get the site located where I want it. I have to get a spot set up this level, and I'll put it together. Okay, this is about where I want it, in the shady spot under this grapevine. That's where I had the old chicken coop composter. I'm going to level the dirt out, and this whole composting chicken coop is going to be a little taller because of the height of this trash can. So it could be countersunk. You know, a hole could be dug that puts down in the ground a ways to lower the overall height to make it easier to get the eggs, etc. The one thing you don't want to do is dig such a deep hole that water fills the hole up and gets over the edge of that trash can lid and starts soaking into the compost. It'll just make a mess. You know, in the winter, if you get a lot of rain. My soil drains pretty good, so I'm not as concerned about that. You know, I can set it down in maybe 6 inches. It'll be below grade, but even if it rains really hard, I'm pretty confident in the soil draining the water out and not overflowing the lip of that lid and getting into the compost. I've got the hole dug. I used the level to level it out. Use that sledgehammer, just hitting it straight down to compact the soil. A regular tamp would be better, but that worked. If you have loose soil, the composting chicken coop will end up settling and getting a little crooked, so best to compact it, put a little effort at least into compacting it. So now I'm ready to put the base of the composting chicken coop in. Here's the base in place. I put 4 12x12 cement pavers. I got a big box in there. They're about $1 a piece. That's to help distribute the load of the trash can over a broader area. There's just a little gap between those pieces of pressure treated wood and the pavers, but I'm not too worried about that because the weight right now is going to be on that PVC pipe, and I think I can get a 1/4 inch of settling out of that pretty quick, and then the weight will go down onto the pavers, so it should stabilize right there. So the next thing I've got to do is put my trash can in place and put the coop on top. So here's the trash can in place. The top is put on. All I need to do now is put some diagonal wire bracing on there. Same as on the other chicken coop composter, same technique, just to keep it from being wobbly. Here's everything in place. There's my water. That's my preference for water. There's a lot of different ways to water chickens. There's some leaves. I'm going to fill the composting chamber all the way level with the coop floor with leaves. It'll settle down real quick. Gonna have to keep an eye on it. If it gets below, let's say 12 or 14 inches below the hardy backer board, I'll have to add some more real quick. But the initial loading should be something that the chickens don't have to break down, don't have to scratch. So the leaves will serve that purpose. After that, I can put a lot of different things in. A lot more kitchen scraps, a lot more yard waste, anything that's compostable. You can see the diagonal bracing there. I've got the instructions on how to do that included in the chicken coop composter instructions. So the coop is nice and stiff, doesn't wobble in the wind. Here's another modification to the original design. I expanded the clean out holes that I cut in the wire. These are 9 inches long, 9 squares, however you want to put it. And you can see, there's 1 square there in the corner. You could do 1 or 2. Then there's 9. Then I got 5 that are still solid. Then right in the center of the coop, there's another 9 by 2 high. 5, 9, and 1. Like I said, that could be 2 on the end instead of 1, and 4 instead of 5, whatever. And I did that on 2 sides. Helps the cleaning process to be able to access it from a couple directions. 1 direction is good enough, but 2 makes it a little better. So I did the same thing over here on this side. The water covers up the other hole.